Hi, everybody. This is Dusk. Welcome to Realm of the Sacred Roots. I wanted to talk to you guys today about protection, turquoise, and talismans. Do me a favor and hit the like and subscribe button. That way, you'll get more of my videos as soon as I make them. You'll be able to keep on top of them. So, I wanted to give you three stories today. My own personal stories about. Let's start with the turquoise story. Before I go to bed, I normally don't wear jewelry. I take my jewelry off before I go to bed. Something told me this one night to go ahead and put on one of my pieces. I wasn't sure what piece, so I went over to my jewelry and I chose the turquoise. It was a turquoise pendant, a nice size one, and I wore it that night before I went to bed. I astral travel a lot, and that night I ended up traveling just right with inside my own house, and I was standing in one of the rooms. And now, mind you, I'm wearing my turquoise pendant, and I saw this large demon standing in front of me, very, very tall and really big and buff. And I wasn't afraid of the demon because at the time, was really working with demons. So there was no fear there, but I didn't know what he wanted. I had no idea. So we're just standing there staring at each other. I see him look down and look at my pendant for a minute. And I'm just standing there still seeing what he wanted. I was unsure. And he looked down at my pendant and then he just walked right through me. And I ended up back in my body and waking up. So I thought it was interesting because they say turquoise is a protection stone for astral travel. It's also a great, an amazing, probably one of the best or better healing stones. But in this case, it's a great stone for astral travel. And even though I felt no threat from the demon, something still told me to put on that pendant that night. So I just trust in my instincts. I trust in my spirit guides that they knew what the deal was, and that it was best if I put that pendant on that night. So the lesson there is pretty much listen to your instincts, as weird as it might seem. And it seemed weird to me because I don't wear my jewelry at night. But that night I listened, and I'm glad I did. Again, even though I sensed no threat, there was a reason why. And so I'm glad I did it. Um, so have faith in your crystals and in your stones and listen to your instincts. They're there talking to you for a reason. Your guides are telling you things for a reason, even though we don't always understand what the purpose is at the time. They know better. Trust in your higher self would be the lesson there. I had another story I wanted to tell you. It was about an acquaintance of mine who owned a shop. And I went into her store one day and I had a necklace on. I like my jewelry. I had my necklace on. And I walked up and we're talking, and she went right up to my pendant and started rubbing on it. Oh, that's such a nice pendant. And I forgot which one it was, what pendant it was. But she just couldn't stop rubbing and touching my pendant. And so she ended up talking again, and then she went back again to reach and started rubbing my pendant. And at the time, I didn't think anything of it, even though it was a little bit uncomfortable because she was in my space. So, and I just don't do that. I just don't go up to people and start touching things on them. I would compliment you if you had something lovely on or nice that I admired, but I wouldn't necessarily just start touching things that are on your body. So she did that three times. She did that, and I thought it was odd, and I didn't like it. And I backed away on the third time because it felt kind of weird. She was known for doing witchcraft. So that night, anyways, I didn't think much of it after that. It was just a little creepy. I went home and went to sleep, and there, what I call spies or a tracker, being put on my pendant. So when I would sleep, I saw basically this spy in my dream watching me in my dreams, off to the corner of my dreams. So that was her, I guess, little sly way of putting a spy or a tracker on you. So lesson learned there, because of course, I ended up getting rid of this spy, but and I guess it's natural is what I'm learning, because it happened where another witch or another spiritual person might want to peek in on what you're doing. But if you quickly dissolve that, quickly get rid of that spy or tracker, and now I know and I've learned I don't let people touch my jewelry, and that's what it boils down to. So guard your space, guard your jewelry that you have on, because a good friend of mine once said, it's not what they take, it's what they leave behind. Think about that for a minute. And he was really good at protection, and that was a great quote that he used. And it's true. It's what's left behind that you have to worry about, not what they take. So in that case, guard your space, guard your jewelry and the things that you have on. I mean, your jewelry is basically an extension of you. If you're a spiritual person, if you wear crystals and you have things on that, these things are an extension of you. And now if someone goes to touch something I'm wearing, I say, oh no, sorry, I don't let people touch my jewelry. And it sounds crazy, it might sound weird, but I just would rather you not. And some people might be offended by it, even if they're friends. Sometimes unintentionally, it can happen without them even knowing. So, you know what? Let's just avoid it all. You can admire it from afar, but I prefer not to have my things rubbed on and touched and my personal space invaded. Now, if it's a close friend of yours and it's all good and whatever, and you trust them, then that's a different story. You guys are looking at each other's jewelry or whatever, but I don't anymore. I just rather not. It's just it doesn't take me long to learn a lesson, and I keep it moving. So I wanted to share that with you, just to kind of watch your space, your personal space. And the third story, I saved the best for last, the talisman. So I went to this store and I ended up buying this African mask. I didn't know what tribe it was. I didn't know anything about it other than it was an African mask, and it had like a white face, and the face was sort of like it would go in almost like a heart shape, which was or is a characteristic of the Fang tribe, is what I found out later what type of mask it was once I brought it home. Usually, when I bring things home, because I do like to collect items, I like older things. This wasn't a very very old mask, so usually when I bring something home, I try to bring one thing home at a time, because in the evening times or when I sleep is when I know what type of things are in the mask or in the item, and I can sort it out from there. If I bring 10 things home and there are a bunch of different spirits, sometimes it's hard to sort out what type of spirit is within what. So in this case, I brought the mask home and I hung it on my wall, and I ended up um, going to sleep that night. And in the middle of the night, I woke up and I opened my eyes and I looked up around into my place, and it wasn't me looking out through my own eyes. It was actually the spirit of the mask that had came inside of me and was looking around the room trying to figure out, it seemed like, where it was. It was a little freaky, because that was the first time I had what I call a type of possession, where the spirit entered me and I actually was seeing through its eyes. And it was just curious, I believe, on where it was at. It wanted to feel my spirit, what type of person I am, who brought it home with them, and then also wanted to know where it was. So it looked around the place, and I didn't feel threatened, but again, it was really interesting feeling. Anyways, so after that, I was working with a shaman, and that's when I started to find out more about the mask. I ended up finding out that it came from the Fang tribe, which is known as an aggressive tribe. They're a fierce tribe, and they're just known to be warlike. So that was interesting. I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. It was a really old mask, and I found out that 3 generations actually wore that mask. And they're also a cannibalistic tribe where their neighbors, all the other tribes around them, were quite afraid of them, and for good reason, because they are known to be cannibals. I think it was from the 17th century and before, and prior to, they were known, and it doesn't seem like they hid the fact that they were cannibalistic tribe. So they would wear the mask. The mask was worn at ceremonies to basically ward off evil spirits, and what they would call sorcery or evil witchcraft from the tribe. They also used the mask for contacting their ancestors. What was interesting is at the time when I was working with the shaman, and not to put on the mask. I never put on any of my masks. I don't recommend you do that either, especially when they use the mask to contact their ancestors and other things. I wouldn't recommend it. But, we do feel the mask for what it is. And the mask was very, very protective of me. It's a very protective mask. So I consider that my talisman, as a protector. We actually had the mask sitting in a room. There were 3 of us, and the mask. There were two of us were females. My shaman friend, myself, and then a gentleman. And the mask. It actually, the spirit within the mask. He hit the guy that was sitting next to me on the back of his head, and he felt it, and he didn't know what it was, and I saw him rubbing his head, and my shaman friend said, oh, the spirit of the mask just hit you in the back of the head, did you feel that? And so he's like, what the heck? So initially the mask is really protective of me and didn't care for males, but after a while, and we worked together that same day with the mask, and the 3 of us, the spirit ended up being pretty cool with our friend. So it's an amazing protective spirit. I think the moral here of this story would be, go with your intuition when you are buying, whether it's a pendant, a mask, any of that. Go with what you're drawn to, whether it's newer or older, because there's a reason for it. And in this case, I found this wonderful mask with a wonderful protective spirit that I have hanging on my wall, and I really have no worries. It's pretty cool. So I wanted to share those stories with you. I don't have a chance to share them often, so I wanted to share them with you, that if you were to go out and possibly buy something cool, and whether it's a mask or a pendant or anything that you would consider protective or a talisman, go with your instinct and what you are drawn to. And when you get it home, see what kind of dreams you have at night after you get it home. And also, I do this with bones a lot. And when I'm meditating, I will close my eyes and put my hands on the bones and feel the bones, and I can see the story of the animal. I can, and I'm probably going off a little bit topic here, but do the same thing with your item that you've bought. Feel the story of it, and it will give you a good idea of what kind of work it can do for you. So hopefully you learned something today from my stories, and please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be coming out with another video soon. Thank you guys again for watching. Till next time.